Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here this afternoon with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hey, David. How you doing today?
Good. I don't mind the early game, actually. It's kind of out of the way now. I'm an Oiler fan. I like watching the games, but this is also our work. And it's a responsibility, so it's nice to have the response. Like I've graded the games, the grades are up, and it was a highly entertaining game. It was a thrilling, hard-fought game.
I enjoyed that game.
Fight. There was a fight between Tkachuk and Kane. There was some great plays by both teams. Mm-hmm. So let's get into it, Bruce. This is our two good things, two bad things, and two numbers podcasted because it was a big Oilers win. They're all big at this point. We'll go with two good things each. What is your first good thing?
Yeah, I'm going to single out Brett Kulak as a good thing today. And I was noticing Brett Kulak in a very good light for most of the game before his big third period when he had the two primary assists on the goals that put this game away for Edmonton. He seemed to be all over the puck. He was skating well, and he was, he was in the lanes and in the guy's grill as much as he could be. He had one really, really ugly turnover, like one pass that just went straight to an Ottawa guy. Didn't really amount to much, but it was a poor one. I thought, there's a sort of other side of the.
Well, it led to a grade a 5-alarm shot for Ottawa.
Did it? Okay, yeah. I guess what I remember is it didn't cost him a goal.
Slot shot. Yeah.
Didn't cost him a goal. But I also noticed a number of good defensive plays. And a number of plays where he won the battle and he shook the guy with his good skating, like his ability to sort of double clutch and then go with it, and that actually played a role in the 5-3 goal. But he'd done that earlier in the game. He had one stupendous stop one-on-one against Brady Tkachuk that lasted about 10 seconds. And Brady Tkachuk is a premier power forward in the NHL. There's no other way to describe the guy. And Kulak just went at him mano a mano, as Louis would say, but actually it's a more appropriate term, hand to hand, for about it seemed like 10 seconds, was maybe only 6, but it was an extended one-on-one. I kind of curled from one top of one face-off circle all the way around to the other one with the battle ongoing. And that, this is for what they're paying him as a second pairing defenseman. People see him as a weakness on the team, and some nights he is for sure. And you know what? If you're a second pairing defenseman at that price, you got to expect he's going to get beat once in a while. Well, he didn't get beat much in this game. And then in the third, he made that terrific bullet pass to Puljujavi, streaking across the blue line to spring him. He made a hard pass and he led him because he had to lead him. It was the only place that he could put it, right? So it's one of those passes we see in football where the quarterback throws it to the outside, where the receiver has to reverse and make a gymnastic play, but it's the only place he can put it where it might actually work. And he just bulleted in there, and Puljujavi received the pass, which was great to see, and then he went in and buried puck in the far corner to put Edmonton up 4-3. And then a little bit later on the 4-on-4, which technically I guess was a shorthanded goal, and it was, but it was a long 4-on-4, and the puck was in Edmonton territory. They chipped the puck back to Kulak at the goal line, and he started to reverse, and all of a sudden he cut the other way, and he lost the Ottawa guy in the corner there, number 28. And then he came flying up the boards, left wing boards, and he just basically blew past the Ottawa guy, number 57, the Pinto, that is, and cut into the middle of the ice. And as he went all the way to the far boards, he took 2 of 3 Ottawa defenders with him and then made a pass into the slot, and Derek Ryan was able to get a stick on it and just slam it home. And those are two great plays by Kulak. And, when you look at the score sheet at the end, 0-2, 2 points plus 2, and thinking, well, yeah, he earned those. So good on you. This is another guy who's, we talk about the forwards who are battling for position. 100% that Brett Kulak is as well. He's mentioned in lots of trade rumors. I even put his name out there in my post last night. So there you go.
You fired him up, Bruce. You know,
Well, good.
it's part of Chikrinomania, right? Like, and
Uh-huh.
the players must, especially Kulak,
Yeah.
he knows that he was signed to be the second pairing defenseman this year, to play
Yeah.
those minutes and
Yeah.
succeed in that role. So
Hmm.
the fact that there's been such a mania, first over Joel Edmondson and now over Chikrin, suggests strongly that he hasn't done his job well enough, to the extent where the majority of fans probably think he could be replaced, maybe even traded, because he's not getting his job done. What we've seen from Kulak, Bruce, in the last month, and we see this in our grade A shots data, um, which is one of the reasons I really love trending it, because it gives us these kind of quite a close, but I think
Hmm.
fairly precise look, fair and
Yeah.
accurate look at who's trending up and who's trending down. And we see Kulak trending up sharply in the
Yeah.
last month. And we saw this kind of same thing happen with Duncan Keith last year, where he
Hmm.
started off weak,
Yeah.
especially on defense, and trend up sharply once he was paired with Bouchard. Now, Kulak hasn't really had a change of assignment so much, although he is regularly now, almost always with Tyson Berry, but they mix it
Yeah.
up, of course, because of the 70. But he is definitely trending up, and he's getting a lot more snarly. I thought both he and Bouchard tonight were more snarly. They both were hitting people more than they usually do. Kulak especially has added some
Hmm.
snarl to his game, which is essential. And of course, we will recall last summer when he signed his contract, most of us, including me, thought, yeah, he's not a bad bet actually to step up into the top four. He did that in the playoffs. He was really good in the playoffs, playing some hard.
Hmm.
It
Yeah.
was kind of debatable who was second pairing on that team in the playoffs last year, whether it was Kulak and Barry or Keith and Bouchard. But Kulak really played well, to the point where when Nurse went out for a game in a key game, Kulak stepped in and was their top
Yes.
lefty that game and played very well.
I'd forgotten that
So
specific, but you're absolutely correct.
he is the Oilers' poor man, Jay Bouwmeester. A big, beautifully skating hockey player,
Whew, can he ever
but
skate?
can he ever skate? Which I think actually gives him, he makes a better impression than sometimes he performs. But
Hmm.
tonight the performance measured up to the skating, and my good thing is it's that goal by Puljujavi, partly because of Kulak's great pass. But man, was it
Hmm.
ever great! Yessa Puljujavi. We don't know how many games Yessa Puljujarvi is going to play for the Edmonton Oilers. It could be just one more.
That could be his
Uh,
goodbye gift to us all. But thank you, Yessa.
Thank you.
I,
Yes,
for one,
that
needed that.
that was, the game was 3-3. Ottawa had come back and tied it up. Ottawa had come back and tied it up. The Oilers
Oh,
were the dominant team to that
yeah.
point,
Yeah.
and fairly dominant. But
Yeah.
it doesn't always work out that way. You can be the dominant team and you don't always win the game.
Hmm.
So I'm thinking, okay, at least get a loser point at this point. And what happens? The guy that you don't expect it comes in and makes a play that we actually do expect from Yessa Puljujarvi, a high skill play where he finishes it off with a goal. He has shown at times that kind of skill. And, he's such a big, rangy guy. And the thing I liked about the goal, it was a bit of an outside shot, but he was moving one way to his outside and he shot at the other against the grain. That's what got the goal. And it was a beautiful shot, beautiful finish. Excellent work by Yessa Puljujarvi on that goal. And for people like you and like me
Hmm.
who have rooted for this guy,
Hmm.
rooted for him, even when he went to Finland, Bruce, neither you or I were down on him. We thought that was a natural move for him to make, and
Yeah, it was.
reasonable under the circumstances, and to get his game and confidence back together. And it looked like it had worked when he came back. And then, of course,
Mhm.
the last year fallen apart to the extent where there's major noises about him being waived or traded. Anyway, all that aside, it was just a gorgeous play. It was the kind. If it's the last thing that he does for the Oilers, good for you, as you say, Bruce. Good for you. Yes, a great goal, great,
Game winner.
great freaking goal, and it just put. I'm sure every Puljujarvi fan was dancing on their couch watching that one. And there are many Yessa Puljujarvi fans in Edmonton. It should be noticed,
Hmm.
and in Finland. And there's
Yeah.
the Finnish diaspora is quite hardcore pro Yessa. I note.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, my son watches his games downstairs in his man cave. Well, his small family cave. But and so the
It's
feed,
Fab Cave.
he gets it through computer, and I get it through cable, and his is often ahead of mine by a handful of seconds. So when I hear a big yeah come from the basement, I really perk up because I'm pretty sure what's coming next is going to be good. And this time I did, but the yeah was sort of extra loud and emphatic. And I said, that's either sort of another McDavid level goal or else. And there was Yessa streaking up the wing, or else. Here we go. Boom, boom, in the net. Oilers ahead, and that was it. They just pulled away from there, really.
Indeed. What is your second good thing, Bruce?
Yeah, my second good thing is a lot of good things, a lot of good plays by little players. Like I don't want to say little players. I want to say role players on the team, like Matthias Janmark deflecting an uber dangerous shot into the netting, but the guy that stood out for me for making a multitude of such plays in this game was Vincent Desharnais, who I thought just dominated his side of the ice. It seemed like, and he was. He made a great takeaway in the first period. Fast guy, tried to go wide on him, and Vince just used his extendo stick and just reached right out with his, like, what is it, 14-foot reach or whatever. And he's got a strong, heavy stick at the end of that reach.
Yeah.
Is the amazing part.
Mm-hmm.
And he just chipped it off the guy's stick and continued into the corner where he collected the puck while the guy sailed around behind the net. And then he had all day to break it out. But other times with just heavy body checks, just finishing guys against the wall and finishing them and keeping them finished, while an Oiler came in to collect the puck and the other guy just had no chance at it because he was sealed out of the play. Just so many of these little good plays for Desharnais. He no points today, but another +2 for Desharnais, and he's creeping up that chart pretty fast. What's that, +6 or 7 on the year now? I think it might even be 7. Not just sort of holding his own as a seventh D man. I mean, what he was brought in to do was to provide right side defense that the Oilers have not been able to rely on from either Tyson Barrie or Evan Bouchard. But between Ceci and Desharnais, they got two solid right shot defending defensemen, penalty killing defensemen. But the fact that the play is going north and the Oilers are scoring goals at the other end, well, some of it's shooting luck. But some of it is the fact that the play is going north because Desharnais had something to do with that. And this afternoon, I was kind of focusing on him when he didn't have the puck, which is almost all the time for that guy, of course. And he was just on his man, taking the right man, to finishing the check. And a guy that big, even when it looks like it's just sort of a light bump on the sidewall, the other guy knows he's been hit. He folded one Ottawa guy over the bench. Oh, anyway, that's my second good thing.
Bruce, I loved his battling with Brady Tkachuk, who is a real tough customer, and I actually really like Brady Tkachuk. I think he's he's the best.
He's my favorite Tkachuk,
yeah, which isn't saying a lot, but he's
old Daddy.
He's not as dirty. Like, I don't know. I can't speak for his father. I don't remember his father's game but if it was dirty or not, but it was rough. It was nasty. And so is Brady. He's rough and nasty, but he's not. I don't see him slew-footing guys like some other Tkachuks. She'll go nameless. At this point, do constantly. The other two. Anyway, I love the way Desharnais stood up to that guy and just gave it to him with the old face wash and went right after him. And then there was just after that, there was a penalty called against the Oilers, and I was realizing I can't wait to see Desharnais get on the ice and battle Tkachuk in front of the net. Like, when was the last time that I was waiting for like a net front battle to be exciting? But that's exactly what he's bringing to it. I mean, it's like Sheldon Surrey, Chris Pronger. No, he's not those kind of players, but in front of the net he is, right? He's a big, nasty, fearless, intimidating player in front of the net. Exactly what the Oilers needed, or he's what the Oilers needed. I mean, they could have had a little shot blocking demon like Chris Russell, right? That's also really good on the PK in front of the net. But this guy actually might even be better than that because he's not a bad shot blocker, and he is fierce, Bruce. He's fierce. And with his hockey stick, you're mentioning how long it is. I understand, like, to get the correct length of his hockey stick, they measure the span of the high level bridge, and they got it exactly. So he's he is the Seaweed Man is a big, and he's going to be a legend, right? Because people in Edmonton love this kind of player. They love what he's going to bring, and he's entering the conversation next year. They with 4 right shot D, and the need to save salary. It provides the opportunity to move out a veteran player, save some money, and have Desharnais play a regular shift next year as one of their 6D men, and he's trending towards that right now, no doubt about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see that role in the future. Right now, I see that no reason whatsoever for Edmonton to ever change from 11-7 for as long
No,
as this goes. Like the system that they got right now is working, and it's been working. I mean, what is this, 9-0-2 in their last 11, and that's when Desharnais came in, and they've gone 7D, same 7D every game since then, and they haven't lost one in regulation. I mean.
And the chaos it brings to the other teams in terms of line matching, I don't think should be underestimated. Like, I don't know if anyone's worked out, like if you went through a typical game before the how many line combinations, permutations there were when you had 12 forwards as compared to 11. But it just seems like it's constantly changing up. And there's McDavid's out there with this, that, and the other guy. Draisaitl, the same thing. Hyman, the same thing. And these guys everyone gets a little extra ice time at forward. So it makes a lot of chaos for the other team, which I also like.
One thing I've noticed, by the way, before we move to your second good thing, is Oilers starting a lot of games. And this, I think, is a really smart move by Woodcroft. He'll start with 3 lines and then his 10th and 11th forwards. And it seems to me a lot of games, like the opening lineup of the game, is the 10th and 11th forwards with McDavid. And it's just like a little bit of a stick tap to Jay. You guys are going to get your ice time, even if you're not really on an official line. And you just right from the start of the game. And I think that, that's just a real good deployment by the coach. It's a good message to his players, and it's usually a good line. I mean, it's got McDavid on it, right?
And the Oilers, Bruce, like their bottom line guys, they don't always get a lot done. And, there's some of them didn't get a ton done tonight, but they got some good bottom line players as well. Bruce, you just brought up McDavid, and he is my second good thing. The play that he made on the Oilers' third goal was the captain laying down the captain's law. Like it was a Bobby Clarke meets Mario Lemieux kind of goal, with Bobby Clarke the first part of it, where McDavid hustles in on the as the puck's heading up ice on the PK, and he is harassing Thomas Chabot with a number of nasty hacks with his stick and little checks. He was absolutely fierce on the forecheck, and he got the puck off him, and then he protects it brilliantly. And there's nothing anyone can do. He's protecting it, and they're worried he's going to shoot. You can't overcommit to going after him aggressively, because if you do, he's going to spin the other way and get a great shot on net. So you kind of have to hold position, and he's waiting for Ryan McLeod to steam into the play. And finally, with his back to him, it's kind of a no-look pass, although he's well aware that McLeod's coming, because he's been taking peeks for the last 2 seconds, it seems. And finally, he, without looking, he does make a fine backhand pass right across, and McLeod puts it in. It was a fantastic goal and a fantastic play by Connor McDavid. He just really, it's like he's the man. He's taking command, and he's going to lead his team to victory, which is exactly what happened on that play and in that game.
Yeah, that was a spectacular play. Captain's log, star date 230211. Or, oh no, you said captain's law. He was laying down the law. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, captain's log too.
Yeah. Anyway, the pass that McLeod made, the aerial pass out of the zone. McDavid tried to knock it down. It just went a little sideways to the Ottawa guy. I thought if he knocked it down straight, it's a breakaway. But it was Chabot, right? And he can really skate. And so it kind of went to Chabot, and McDavid managed to get a stick in there right away on the stretch. And that was the reason that Chabot had to turn all the way back into Ottawa territory. And from there on, he was soundly schooled by McDavid on a series of maneuvers. But, I mean, he just did, other than he didn't get the perfect knockdown of that pass, everything else he did on that play was essentially perfect. And thankfully, McLeod came in and buried the shot. So this play will be on the highlight reels for quite some time to come. Often you get these brilliant plays, and other guy misses the net, or even the other team's goalie makes a fantastic save, it's less likely to get on the highlights. But this one, we'll be seeing this one a few times. He got one in Chicago maybe 4 or 5 years ago where he dangled a bunch of guys in front of the net and he made a goal mouth pass for an absolute tap in by his teammate after he bamboozled four Hawks, including the goalie. Almost standing still like today. Like I still remember that one. And this was in that class, 11 out of 10.
Vinny Desharnais is +9. Now,
Oh,
Cody
geez.
Ceci, so Zach Hyman leads the team. Zach Hyman leads the team, and we didn't mention him yet in terms of Zach Hyman just had a whale of a game. He led the team with 10 major contributions to grade A shots. Zach Hyman leads the team in plus-minus +18, which isn't surprising.
Today.
He has been probably their best player at even strength, which is saying a lot with Connor McDavid on the team. But he really has. He's just been phenomenal on defense and on the attack at even strength. Darnell Nurse +16, Philip Broberg +11, Cody Ceci +10, and Desharnais +9. Bruce, what is your bad thing?
My bad thing is casualties, of which there were 3 in this game. I didn't see the one to Jake Sanderson, son of former Oiler Jeff Sanderson, who was playing a very fine game for the Sens until he left it with some sort of injury. And the way they were talking about it sounded like it might be not just a little thing. I'm not quite sure how I missed it. Or it was just one of those things where he left and then didn't come back. Then the middle injury, of course, was to Klim Kostin of the Edmonton Oilers, where he really took a heavy crunch into the side wall and glass from Artem Zub, who is one tough customer for Ottawa. And he came out of that very much the worse for wear, holding his left wrist. And that did not look like it was going to be just the rest of this game. I think we'll be without Klim for a while, and that has some consequences, which I'll mention in my number. And then, of course, the third one was a really horrid, almost tragic-looking injury to Ottawa goalie and former Oiler, Anton Forsberg. And Forsberg was just caught between a rock and a hard place. And in particular, his defenseman did him no favors, twice pushing Zach Hyman in on top of him. And the second one knocking Hyman down onto his extended leg. And there was, a sort of a slow developing play where the puck stayed in the blue paint and it finally came out and Nuge got a hold of it, sort of settled it down and then fired it in the net, and Forsberg hadn't moved the entire time. And I'm already going, oh, that doesn't look good. Anyway, Hamonic's hit on Hyman was so egregious that even NHL refs were able to agree that Zach Hyman did not commit goalie interference on the play. And at that, you could see Hyman on the bench, rather than celebrating a clinching goal, he looking very concerned and kind of downcast that he'd been in the middle of that play. But really, it's not on Hyman other than getting in where he's supposed to be. Defensemen aren't supposed to do that to their poor goalies. But that was 3 injuries to 3. 3 players of, I mean, they all have Edmonton connections, as mentioned, but of course, for Oilers fans, it's the one to Kostin that has the deeper implications. But again, we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about the Ottawa defenseman, in his defense, it is chaos. It is chaos in front of the net. When the pucks, I mean, they are like every adrenaline gland is firing, at full capacity, and you got to be tough. You've been told your whole life, be tough in front of the net, be tough, take out the man in front of the net, don't allow the goal, and he just does what he does, and it's just
get
chaotic.
Between your man and the net was the way I remember it being taught. But yes.
Well, sure, yeah, perfect technique, but that doesn't always happen, right? So, then you're even more alarmed because you failed, and then you're, trying to make up for that, and more prone to probably a bonehead play anyway. That was a tough play, and hard to see the goalie get injured like that. I hope he we're all hoping he's okay, of course. Bruce, my bad thing is Jack Campbell. I thought he was, well, he didn't get a ton of the grade A shots were 17-9 for the Oilers, but the subset of 5 alarm shots were much more even, with Edmonton having 7 and Ottawa 7. So he did have some tough shots, Campbell, and but the 2 goals that I'm going to pick on him for were not like, they weren't egregious, like they weren't like, oh my God, how did that ever go in? But they were like
B shots.
Why did that go in? You know, they're grade B shots. They were defenseman Jake Sanderson and Eric Randstrom shooting from outside, from the high slot, just on the edge of the grade A zone, but not inside it. And with what looked to be Tyson Berry's stick, give or take, maybe blocking the view a little bit on the second goal by Brandstrom, maybe, but it didn't even look like that.
It didn't take the stick like it did last game.
Yeah, it looked like he had a clear look at both shots. They were both grade B scoring. They're scoring chance shots, like they're grade B scoring chance shots, but they're not grade A. Goalies in the NHL should have grade B. They shouldn't be beat by grade B scoring chance shots. Sometimes they are, and 1 out of 10 times, and it happened twice.
Some of them go in for sure, and usually it's a great shot. Well, I didn't think Brandstrom's in particular was any kind of a great shot. I was really kind of surprised by that one.
Yeah, and I didn't think Sanderson's shot was a great shot, although he had lots of time to get it off. It was a good shot, but he was pretty far out there. And anyway, I just think Campbell, he had been cutting down recently on the major mistakes, leading to goals against, but he had a couple there. And man, it's 3-3 all of a sudden, and his play could have cost the Oilers the game. But as we've seen all through this season, Bruce, this trend continues where Campbell doesn't play great, but his team does, and the Oilers get the win when he's in net. Let me just check his record. Skinner, I think, now has 13 wins and 13 losses all told, including losses in overtime and shootouts.
Yeah, the last 2 games in a row, he let in 3 goals, and he lost both of them in
it's just this
time.
This weird trend, and now Jack Campbell's record is 17 wins and 9 losses. Like, he's not in Cy Young territory there, but that's a pretty good one-loss record for a as a major league pitcher. That'll
8 wins in a row and 9 starts in a row that he won. He got 1 loss in there when he came in for Skinner just before Skinner went home for his baby to be born, and he allowed the game-winning goal on a shot that I still don't think went in Los Angeles, but that's a carp for a different day. But his last 9 starts have all ended with complete game wins. So he's I thought when they made it 3-2 that he was going to slam the door, but he certainly didn't on the 3-3 just a couple minutes later. But the third period they got nothing, and they got a lot of sort of really good looks, but there was a couple of sort of
there was one
dangerous ones, and he just turned everything aside. So he's probably not the reason they won the game, but the good news is he isn't the reason they lost it. Right? If they lost 3-2 and those 2 had gone in, we would probably be saying something different.
Indeed. Bruce, your numero is?
Yeah, my number is $750,000. And that is the salary of one Clean Costin, who went down this afternoon. Yeah. Clean the Dream Costin, who... as mentioned earlier, went down with what looked like a fairly serious-looking injury. And the fact that Costin makes exactly $750,000 and no more, which is the NHL minimum for this season, is problematic to Ken Holland. Because Holland's in a situation where, and again, I wrote about this last night at some length about the dollar in, dollar out. At the beginning of the season, the Oilers had $165 in cap space. And since then, they've basically had a dollar in, dollar out replacement, right? They had originally Brad Malone at $762.5. Now they got Vince DeHarnay at $762.5. And originally they had, who the heck was the guy they set down right on $750 at the beginning of the season? And then the other guy at $750 was Ryan Murray, and they replaced him with Clean Cost at 750.
Tyler,
So
no, not
Tyler
Tyler
Benson,
Benson.
he was there. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
they've during the time Kane was hurt, there was more room to maneuver. But the fact remains that Kane is now back, and the minute Yamamoto was also back, the Oilers are instantly back in the exact scenario that they were at the beginning of the season, which is to say they have to send out some player making more than a million and an eighth, 1.125 million. That's the max they can bury in the minors. And it wouldn't matter if it was McDavid down there, it would be all they could bury in the minors. So they have to pick from a fairly short list of guys to send out. And even when they do that, they can only replace Klim Kostin with another player making exactly $750,000 because they got $165 in space, which actually they don't have that because their limit for the season is was set the day they established that roster. So the most they can go is, what is it, $82.499 dollars. They're within 2/1 millionths of the salary cap. That's how close Ken Holland cut it. So
Bruce, they can't call up Raphael Lavoie. Like Raphael
well,
Lavoie has been ripping it up, right? And they can't
well,
call him up because he makes 870,000.
yeah. Well, here's what I'm getting to: the non-roster players for the Oilers. All the guys on ELCs make 925 or NHL, sort of
Yeah.
maximum ELC money. Lavoie makes 875. Philp makes 842. And then guys like Tulio, Hamblin, and then you got a whole bunch of guys, Seth Griffiths, Brad Malone, Greg McKegg, all NHL veterans, and they're all making 762,500. And in case you're wondering, why does that figure keep coming up over and over again? It's because that's the average between this year's minimum and next year's minimum, where it goes up by 25,000.
Oh,
So
they had to get
between the
that.
two, they had to give them the minimum for each year. So the average is 762,500. So even though it's the minimum, it's more than the actual minimum of 750. And so all those guys at 762.5, none of them can be brought up. The only guys they have at 750 are Tyler Benson and Justin Bailey. So if the Oilers have to make a recall for Klim Kostin, which I fear they're going to have to do, well, until Yamamoto comes back, they can do it different. But they can't even keep Devon Shore in the lineup, right? Because he makes more than 750. He makes 850, so he's out. So it really ties Ken Holland's hands, and it would be a very different thing if, say, that had been Matthias Janmark who got hurt today. All of a sudden, that solves the salary cap issue, but I have bad feelings that it's just going to really seriously limit Holland's options. Of course, he can always go out and acquire a $750,000 player in a trade, or get a team to retain down to that level. Yeah. So, but I guess Bailey's been showing pretty well lately, and he too has some NHL experience. But Kostin he's hot and cold, but I think he sort of embedded himself in the team at this point as a solid, got your back kind of teammate.
Let's face it, Bruce, it's Luke Esposito's moment. You know what? I don't even know if Benson's healthy because he's only played 18 games this year in Bakersfield. So he may be healthy. Like, I don't mind Tyler Benson getting called up. He is I think he's a useful NHL player in a limited role. Kostin has been trending down for the last few weeks. He's not been getting much done in games. It's unfortunate he got hurt, of course, this game, but he is not. He's not been, he was on an incredible heater shooting the puck, but his physical play hasn't been as strong he just hasn't been noticeable to me, at least. I thought he had a poor game tonight before he got hurt. Anyway, Benson might get a chance. I wouldn't mind seeing that. I don't know about Justin Bailey's game at all. I love Luke. I'm just kidding about Luke Esposito. He's not even on an NHL contract, but right. He is a very fierce hockey player. Yeah. And he's one of my favorites down in Bakersfield. Yeah, Bruce, could they send Yamamoto down for a 2-week conditioning stint? Is that crazy talk? Could they do that?
Coming off IR, there's a way to do it without activating the guy. Sometimes you send a guy down for a conditioning streak like they just did Devon Shore, and if he's on the active roster, he stays on the active roster. But if he's coming back and playing his way back into shape, there are some rules about allowing a guy to play, say, a week in the AHL. Like Sekera was one guy who did that a long time ago, and uh, there's some rules. I don't know what the parameters are. Like
There was some suggestion Fogel was injured too, like that he.
Fogel
That's
did
why.
not play today,
Yeah, so
so
he had been playing well, right?
Yeah, very well. He had two
Yeah,
excellent games on this road trip, but he
yeah.
blocked a
So
shot on his calf in the last game in Philly. And he was hurting at that time. He finished out that game, and he made, to my mind, one of the very excellent plays down the stretch on the penalty kill when he stole the puck off a Philly player, and then tried to get it out without his stick, and he was able to dive at the blue line and somehow bat the puck past him at the end of Philly's last power play, which is something we didn't talk about last game that I kind of missed because I thought it was terrific by him. Anyway, they missed him today, but the guy who came in to replace him only scored the game-winning goal, right? So it's kind of nice when you got a roster deep enough that can happen. I mean, Vogel himself played the exact same role 2 games earlier. He was the first game back, and he got the go-ahead and game-winning goals in the game in Detroit.
So, given Yamamoto's injury history this year, given the worrisome nature of concussions, and I don't know what's holding him out. I'm just guessing. I don't see any reason on earth to rush him back to the lineup, and I see a reason to send him to Bakersfield. Let him play a few games, see if he can stay healthy and hearty, and not have symptoms or whatever whatever's dragging him down repeatedly, or maybe it's a series of different things. I don't know, but it seems prudent. Send him down for conditioning stint any way you can do it. Just buy yourself some more time before you have to make a decision on Yessa Puljujavi, because if you start getting injuries on the wing, you may need Yessa Puljujavi in the playoffs.
Yeah,
and he can be a decent playoff performer for you. So the prudent move may be to hold his contract. And I know that's going to mean, like, some people will be terribly upset that the Oilers don't make a big move at the deadline. I'm not in that camp, so I like this team. I'm not against picking up another forward if you can afford it, but I'm not in the let's make it. The Oilers need to make a big move camp. Not with Kulak trending up, Broberg trending up, Desharnais trending up, Ceci and Nurse holding their own. I'm content with what I'm seeing on the defense. So, Bruce, my number is 8. Leon Draisaitl broke his goal shot drought. 2 games without a shot, and halfway through the first, he got a shot on net finally, and then he erupted. He of the 8 shots, Bruce, 5 of them were grade A shots, and 2 of them were his dread executioner shot, where he lashes the puck off kind of one knee. It's his unique one-timer off one knee where he gets down low and just lashes that puck at net. And he hit the post on one of the executioner shots. So Leon was firing away. He looked really good this game. His legs were going. I thought he
read his press clippings, David.
Yeah, he did. He thought, well, better time to get the sand out of my skates and forget the beaches and get skating again here and get going, and he did. So credit, he is such a fantastic hockey player. He gets criticism here and in other places, and sometimes probably too much, because of what he does provide on the attack is so astonishing that I think if he can come up big defensively in the playoffs, all's forgiven. Like, who cares how he plays in the regular season grind on a certain level? You make the playoffs and you get there, and then he can, because I do think he's someone who can crank it up. Like, I don't think this is someone who just habitually makes mistakes that he can't fix. I think he can fix a lot of these mistakes, if I'm completely honest, when he's fully into the game and concentrating and determined not to be beaten on defense. So he broke out of the drought tonight. Great game from Leon Draisaitl. What did he get? How many points?
2 assists plus 2 assists. 2, I think.
Yeah. So he
plus 1 and a penalty.
He is now up to 78 points in 51 games.
Not bad.
McDavid 97, Nugent Hopkins 63, Hyman 62.
I like it.
And fantastic.
Yeah, well, Leon had 8 shots on net, 2 that missed, including one that, at least one that rang the iron. And as you say, many of them were danger shots. His legs were moving. His sort of cross ice passes. He made one of those cross ice top of the zone passes that in the last 2 games both would have been intercepted for jailbreaks. But in this game, he snapped it through and he found Hyman bursting up the wing, and it wound up being a chance for the Oilers. I mean, there's a reason he tries those passes. Sometimes they work.
You
and
want
when
him to
he's
do
on
it.
his game, they're more likely to work. And today it did. But honestly, David, I think the single thing I liked best out of Draisaitl today was, well, a couple things. The great pass that he sent to Hyman in alone on the penalty shot, what became the penalty shot, and an unassisted goal for Hyman. I mean, Leon got robbed out of a point there. The timing on that, he held the puck as Hyman burst free in the neutral zone, then bullet pass. I thought he would pass it slow and right away, but he held it and he I think he kind of crossed up the defenseman. He passed it when you didn't expect, and it was right through and on his tape, and Hyman was gone. But the other one was in the first period when he had a bit of a long shift and the puck come back into his own zone a couple of times. And the second time he came out with it and he had full possession just inside of his own blue line. And he had a couple of ways he could have passed it. And instead, all he did was use the lob wedge and just dump it high into the air. And it came down in Ottawa territory. And by the time the puck landed, Leon was on the bench with his line already changed. And I thought, yeah, that's what we need to see from you. Just a little bit more of the safe stuff when situation calls for it, as it did on that occasion. And just a nice little sign that his head was really in the game and, for the whole 200 feet of the ice.
Indeed. Well, Bruce, let's leave it there. I gotta post this, and we got it. It's back to back for the Cult of Hockey as well.
10:30 again tomorrow morning. Today was a red eye special for me.
Alrighty. Bruce,
Coffee
thanks for talking.
And espresso. Thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.